All right, it's Nick Atkin here on SCMP MMA, South China Morning Post in Hong Kong, and we are back with the boss man from One Championship, Chatri Sityodtong. Chatri, how's everything going with you, mate?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on the show, Nick. Appreciate it.
As always, one of my favorite guests. Always love our chats. Plenty of stuff to talk about from these first two One on TNT cards. A lot of drama, a lot of craziness, a lot of good fights. But I know you, first of all, want to talk a little bit about Eddie Alvarez. So, yeah, what's on your mind?
Man, it's just one of those really unfortunate situations that our debut on TNT has to be with a DQ that, created 15 minutes of dead time to start. And, it's just one of these things that you can't ever predict. And, if you review the footage in slow motion and take stills, there are, again, anywhere from 3 to 5 illegal blows to the back of the head. But, I don't think Eddie... Actually, I know for a fact Eddie didn't intend to do it. His face just happened to be facing the wrong way. He had no visibility. And Yuri was facing the other way. But it was clear that a few of the shots went really right in the back. And when we got the CAT scan results, Yuri did have hematomas right in the back of his head. So it was very clear that he was struck in the very back of his head. And, just a wild night.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the red card came out, as you said. What a way to kick off the first One on TNT show. Eddie was disqualified. Yeah, he says he won the fight. That's what he believes. He was a bit emotional after the fight. He didn't think the shots were illegal, but you still stand by that call, don't you? I know you said straight away that these shots were illegal. I'm sorry, Eddie.
Right. So the decision, the DQ is under review. But what I can say factually correct is that there were illegal shots. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You look at all the different camera angles. You look at still frames. You look at the actual landing. You look at the CAT scan where the swelling on his brain, on Yuri's brain is. It's in the back of the head. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts. Now, the question is whether, Eddie's intent was there. The referee definitely warned Eddie, as you could hear in the audio, right? He says, shots to the back of the head, shots to the back of the head. Eddie pauses and looks at the ref and then continues striking. He didn't have visibility. So it's just one of those things that, factually, I do know that the referee gave 2 warnings. I do know that they were anywhere from 3 to 5 illegal shots to the back of the head. That is factual, and the CAT scans show it. Yuri's head shows it. Like, it just, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And he's going to be out for at least 90 days. So it was people were saying he was that he deserved an Oscar for faking, but he definitely wasn't faking it. He was in serious pain, and again, the hematomas on the back of his head definitely showed that the strikes were illegal. Now, the question that people can debate is, did the ref make the wrong call on the DQ by issuing a red card so suddenly? Should he have, called out a halt in the action and give a yellow card? Those things are definitely up for debate. And here's what I say is, in the heat of the moment, Eddie's doing the best job he can. Yuri's doing the best job he can. And the referee's definitely doing the best job he can in terms of protecting the athlete's health. So, it's so hard. It's one of these things that just, we've seen it, over the entire lifespan of combat sports, in any combat sport, right? There are controversial calls that happen. And it's unfortunate, one of these things. So, but I can say factually, there were illegal blows. Factually, the referee did give 2 warnings. Now, but I can also say factually that the DQ is under review. Eddie and his team asked for a review, and so the whole committee, individual committee, are voting on it based on the footage and everything, and hopefully we'll have the results of the review over the next several days.
So if that is overturned to a no contest, will it matter? Are you still going to do that rematch when Yuri's healthy? What's the plan there? How you said on Facebook, we're going to do that rematch.
Yeah, so irrespective of DQ or no contest or whatever it ends up being, there is going to be a rematch. They both want to fight each other. Yuri's very, very upset for how everything turned out. Eddie's understandably also very upset. So I think there's a real desire from both sides to have a rematch. So so there definitely will be a rematch. Let's see what happens.
Now, Eddie's also said he's fighting on April 28th at one on TNT4. Can you confirm that? Can you tell us anything about that? Is he going to come back to Singapore?
Yes. If Eddie said that, did he say that?
He said it on Ariel's show, Ariel Helwani, ESPN.
So if Eddie said that, then yes, I guess the cat's out of the bag. He is coming back to Singapore in short order. He will be fighting on TNT4. And his opponent will be determined.
So you haven't got an opponent yet? Or are you trying to find one?
No, the winner of Marat Gafurov and Rayun OK or Rayun Oak rather, the winner will then be the number 5 ranked lightweight. And so whether it's Marat Gafurov or Rayun Oak, that will be the winner of that match will face Eddie Alvarez in TNT4. I actually haven't told anybody. So Nick, I don't know what you ask good questions and you leave me no choice but to break news to you.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, I know that. Yeah, I didn't know if you knew that Eddie had told Ariel that. You seemed quite surprised, but
no, I had heard that Eddie had spoken about it, but I didn't know it was on Ariel. I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know. And so for you to confirm it was on Ariel, so I didn't know whether it was just hearsay that he was chatting with friends or whether he officially said it. So, but if he officially said it, then I mean, I was going to officially say it anyways at some point. But he is coming back to fight. He's going to fight the number 5 ranked contender. It'll either be because Marat Gafurov is currently number 5, and he faces Rayun Oak. And the winner of that match will take on Eddie Alvarez. And so Eddie can still has a shot at breaking into the top 5 rankings.
So that fight is going to be broadcast on TNT3, the Gafurov fight.
Correct.
Okay. So that plays into it nicely. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Eddie. Yeah.
No, look, it wasn't an ideal situation, but it is what it is, and that's what happened. And I would say there are a lot of things just did not go our way for one on TNT1, but the trajectory is nice, right? I don't know if you saw the ratings on the TV ratings for one on TNT2. They're up over 70% versus the prior week. So the trajectory is, and they're very healthy numbers. So, we're very optimistic that TNT 3 and 4 are going to be good numbers as well.
Yeah, I was going to get into it with you about the ratings in a little bit. I just wanted to also get your reaction to something else Eddie said in his interview with Ariel Helwani on ESPN. He said he might be boxing Oscar De La Hoya.
Yeah.
I don't know the time frame for that, but is that something you'd give your blessing to? Is it something you'd want to help be involved in, like co-promote?
Yeah, obviously one championship would be involved in it, and Eddie and I did speak about it when he was in Singapore last week. We did talk about Oscar De La Hoya. So I can confirm that there are serious discussions going on. And, for me as a fan, I'd love to see Oscar De La Hoya versus Eddie Alvarez. That would be a barn burner of a fight.
Do you have any idea when it might happen, or what? Is it going to have to fit in around the one championship schedule?
Summer time frame, that's July time frame is what they're talking about. But again, there's a lot of moving parts. Let's see what happens with Eddie and one on TNT4. So there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. And now Christian Lee said after his win that Eddie will get a title shot with an impressive win over Yuri Lapicus. Do you think Eddie's still got to go through Lapicus, or if he gets it done against Gafurov or Gafurov's opponent, that he's going to jump the front of the queue, or is he still going to do that rematch first?
I think it's still up in the air. I think, Eddie's got to deliver an outstanding performance, a super impressive performance to create any upward movement and potential fast track in the title shot. Obviously Eddie got knocked out in his first fight, and his second fight he was losing until he did the flower sweep. So, anything can happen in there. And I've told Eddie, look, if he wins impressively, then we can definitely start talking about a title shot. But again, I think it all depends on what happens in his next fight, right? If it's an incredible fight and he deserves it, then so be it. If it ends up being a snooze fest, or if he ends up losing or whatever it is, right? You just never know. I mean, these things there's so many moving parts.
Yeah, and just keeping it on Christian Lee, that was an incredible performance for me against Timothy Yukin. He's now cleaned out the top 4 contenders in his division. He's only 22 years old. What do you think Christian will have achieved when all is said and done?
Oh, I mean, if you just look at the trajectory he's on, he already is arguably the greatest lightweight on the planet today, active lightweight, right? And just looking at his skill set, and I can tell you as a lifelong martial artist, I have seen many, 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 many athletes, whether from other organizations, whether it's UFC or Bellator or One Championship, train. I've trained with many of them as well. And I can tell you that Christian has smoked almost every, he has smoked every athlete he's ever trained with from other organizations, smoked them. And I don't want to name names because I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but we're talking about champions from other organizations. From the other 2 big organizations. So I'm just telling you, his skill set is just incredible. He is definitely, in my mind, the top lightweight in the world. And his story is just beginning. That's what's so crazy, right? It's just beginning.
He'd also talked after that fight. I know he's talked about it before, but he reiterated he's really interested in cross-promotional bouts. Is that something you can ever see happening in one? And if so, which organizations realistically would you want to do it with?
Every time the media asks me, every time a fan asks me, I am 100% welcome to a 1 versus UFC mega global event, champion versus champion. 100% I would do it in a heartbeat.
Would you consider anyone else? If UFC doesn't want to play ball?
No, let's do the best versus the best of the East versus the best of the West. Let's do it.
So no RIZIN, no Bellator?
That doesn't really interest me. Again, I believe in the One Championship roster as the best in the world. I know Dana believes that UFC roster is best in the world. And so let's see it. I just don't look at the other organizations as comparable to our roster, just being completely frank.
Well, Christian is also talking about moving up to welterweight. Is that something you'd be up seeing? Do you see that on the cards?
Anything can happen. Again, he's 22. His skill set's insane. You can ask any professional athlete that has trained with him in any gym. Like he's a phenom. I mean, actually, the entire Lee family are phenoms, right? You look at Angela, you look at Christian, you look at Victoria, and now Adrian, the youngest of the 4, wants to become professional as well. He's 15 years old. A little too early for us to sign him, but I've watched Angela, Christian, Victoria, and Adrian grow up before my eyes. Actually, I was just on the phone this morning with Ken Lee, their father, their coach, and we were just reminiscing about our very first family dinner together. And, back then I think Adrian was like 9 years old and Victoria was like 11, or maybe even before that. It might have been 8 and 10 or something like that, but they were very young. And Angela just, I want to say, turned 18. And now, as of a few hours ago, she was in labor. I don't know if they've delivered the baby yet. Yeah.
Oh, really? Angela's in labor?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I was on the phone with Ken, and then Ken gets a call that Angela's going to the hospital. And then Ken's like, he can't leave the house because he's under quarantine. So in Hawaii, he has to serve 10 days quarantine at his house, for leaving to go to Singapore. So he and I were like, yeah. So that we were talking live, and then I had to jump in a bunch of meetings, and then that was the last I heard. That was a few hours ago.
Well, yeah. Best of luck to Angela and Bruno, and I know Christian's wife is also expecting a baby very soon as well. So best of luck to them. Couple more Lees for you then to throw into the mix. Are you expecting the...
Angela, I'm signing the baby. I'm already signing the baby. So.
But I mean, Adrian, yeah, I saw he was helping out with Christian's fight. He was in the circle afterwards, and he looks gigantic now as well. Is he on the radar for you guys?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, again, like, yeah, I mean, I'm just have so much love and respect for the Lee family, for Ken, Jules, and all the kids, and being able to give them a massive platform. So it's awesome. And Adrian he's a beast. He's a real beast.
Well, can't wait to see how Adrian gets on. Victoria must be next in line for a fight. I guess, have you got any idea when she might return? Is it going to be in the summer?
Yeah, she's definitely going to return. I know she's already itching. And that's what, her father and I were discussing, Victoria's next fight. And so that was, yeah.
All right. Well, can't wait to see who you line her up against. But yeah, we touched on it a little bit earlier, those one on TNT ratings. And as you said, big number. It was 337,000 average viewers for the second card, up from 196,000. Yeah, you must be pleased with these numbers from yesterday's show.
Yeah, I try not to get too excited one way or the other. I mean, we obviously had a rough start, and it wasn't an apples-to-apples start because of the DQ, and it just created a lull in the action, and that's how you can lose fans very quickly, right? Is by no action. And so, and again, we made a few mistakes in the production department as well, on TNT One that we normally don't make. And but I'm blessed to serve the greatest team on the planet, and they've just ensured that one on TNT 2, 3, and 4 are going to be, spectacular. And so, knock on wood, the direction is right. But yeah, I mean, 337,000 is the highest ratings we've ever received in the U.S. market. And they're healthy numbers for just the start, right? We just began, and they're already beating the other players, outside of UFC. Bellator and PFL numbers are numbers already being there, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, and if you consider it wasn't even like the most stacked card yesterday, you would have thought the first card potentially would have got more viewers. Yeah. I mean, do you put it down to that Eddie Alvarez DQ, or maybe there are other factors? I know that AEW, the All Elite Wrestling, got a huge 1.2 million viewers this week. Now that WWE's show NXT has switched to Tuesdays, maybe that helped with a bigger lead-in?
Yeah, all these factors, right? So I think, I don't know if you know, but one on TNT One, we trended number 3 on Twitter in the US.
Yeah, and that was trending.
Exactly, right. And that was a big surprise. And that's why it was kind of like weird, because what we realized was only 196,000 average viewers, but I guess those viewers went out and talked on Twitter, and Twitter blew up, right? And so people might not have watched the fight live, but they came back and watched it later. And then all that social media buzz went on to one on TNT 2. I think obviously DJ getting KO'd. I think something like 80%, 70 or 80% of former UFC athletes in the last 2 or 3 years have been KO'd entering one championship. So I think it was a huge moment. I mean, I don't wish ill for DJ. I love DJ and I love Adriano. The KO is what the KO is, but I think people they don't understand the level of competition at one. They just don't. And I do, because I'm a lifelong martial artist, and many of the fighters I select, with our competition team. But whether it's, MMA, whether it's jiu-jitsu, whether it's boxing or Muay Thai or kickboxing, I'm telling you, we have the best roster, pound for pound, championship caliber roster in the world of martial artists. And Adriano is just one, like I said, I think it's 70 or 80%. I can't remember the number, but over the last 2-3 years of, incoming UFC fighters getting knocked out. So those are the stats.
Yeah, I saw you guys ran a promo saying something to that effect during the show. Is that a promotional technique you want to say? Is it something you want to get out there that, hey,
this stems from like a few years ago. UFC's PR team, came and trash talked one championship in Asia, calling us a small little regional thing. I forget what happened, something like that. And then it's just it's again, I'm a lifelong martial artist. I'm very confident in our roster. And that's why I said, whenever fans or media ask me about ONE versus UFC, I said, let's do it, champion versus champion. And I think we win some, we lose some, but I don't think, I think we'd win more, but especially the lower weight division, lightweight and below. But I have a lot of respect for UFC, don't get me wrong, but they came to our backyard a few years ago and trash talked us in the media. And so I just feel like people need to know the facts and the truth and not, marketing rhetoric from another competitor.
Well, have you got any other update on whether there's going to be any more TNT shows? Any indication if they're happy with these numbers and maybe they're going to renew it and have another series, a weekly show going forward?
Well, I just say that, active discussions are going. Obviously, people are very happy. The TNT team actually was very happy even with our first show because the social media buzz, they've never seen digital metrics on their digital platform just go ballistic like that. And then obviously their strong ratings this time, and still strong digital metrics. So, active discussions are going on. This is just the start of something big, in my opinion.
Yeah, it'd be great to see. I mean, is there any crossover potential with AEW that you guys are interested in doing? I know that Vitor Belfort told me he wants to have a match with Chris Jericho on AEW. Is that something you want to get involved with those guys?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm open to it. Obviously AEW is very strong in North America, and we're very strong in Asia. So I'm sure there's overlap. But the same thing is, I could say the same thing for WWE as well, right? Like, it just happens that AEW and ONE are on the same network on Wednesday back to back. So obviously that's great for, combat sports fans, wrestling fans, and there is, meaningful overlap. Our audience skews a lot younger than AEW's. That's from the latest Nielsen data we studied. So there's a little bit of difference in our fan base, but I would say both properties are very entertaining. And if you're a fan of fight sports, combat sports, wrestling, Wednesday on TNT is a fun night.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be cool to see that be the new home of combat sports in America. Yeah. That'll be fun. You did mention DJ and Adriano there. I did want to just get your thoughts on those two guys. Obviously, where does DJ go from here? He's mentioned kickboxing.
Yeah.
But
so I truly believe that DJ is still in the peak of his prime. He has, and I genuinely believe in my heart of hearts that his best days are ahead of him. He had a bad night at the office against a very tough opponent. And at the press conference, when I saw the odds, right, they had DJ as a minus 850 favorite against Adriano. And at the press conference, I just called it out like, guys, this is a 50-50 fight. And I'm telling you, again, from my perspective as a lifelong martial artist, Adriano has the worst body type. He's 5'9", 5'10", very long, skinny legs, very long arms. And he's just a very dynamic, awkward, unique style of fighter. And DJ is shorter and faster and more athletic, but, styles make fights, but also body types make fights. And when you're fighting someone very long and lanky who has footwork like Adriano, the chances of getting caught the way DJ got caught with an uppercut, right, is very high because DJ has to break the distance. He has to break into Adriano's territory in order to engage. Adriano can strike him from afar, but DJ can't touch him because he's, his wingspan is just less than Adriano's. So when you look from a pure strategy perspective, Adriano is a bad matchup for any flyweight. He is genuinely the greatest flyweight on the planet today, anywhere.
Yeah, where does Adriano go now? I mean, he talked to me a little bit afterwards about potentially moving up and trying to get the only win he's not got back against Yusuf Sadulayev. Is that something you'd be up for him going and chasing? He did say he didn't have any interest in fighting for the belt if it's Bibiano, though, because, you know, they're good friends, I think, and Brazilians, and obviously John Lineker as well. He's friends with him.
There are still a lot of killers and monsters in the flyweight division. Just look at Yuya Wakamatsu. He is an absolute monster. Then you look at Danny Kingad. You look, I mean, the list is just, yes, they fought Adrian, but these are, you know, kind of like Christian. Christian, he has leveled up. When he joined One Champion, he was 17 years old. And his losses were when he was still a teenager. And think about it, you're a teenager in high school and you're competing in the world's largest stage of martial arts. Like, it took a couple of years for him to mature and develop, right? Into his body size, into his skill. And Christian Lee today is a completely different animal than he was a year ago, than he was 2 years ago. And the same thing for Yuya Wakamatsu. Yuya Wakamatsu joined when he was early 20s, just a youngster. And he's blossoming. He's got tremendous talent, tremendous potential, and now incredible skill set to boot. So I think Adriano has not cleaned out his division. He needs to focus on defending first and creating a legacy for himself. Yes, it's a huge thing to defeat the greatest of all time in DJ, but one win doesn't make a legacy, right? DJ defended his title when he was in the UFC, I think 12 times or something like that. To be a legend, you have to not only beat a legend, but you have to have a legacy of achievement that is really unparalleled. And that's how you become a legend. And I know Adriano is very hungry for that. So I still say, you know, Adriano, this is what I told him after the fight. I said, it's only the beginning.
A couple of quick questions I just wanted to get as well. Martin Nguyen, what a disaster for him.
You know. Yeah, I'll tell you, Martin, this was unlucky. He tries a perfect training camp. He gets on a plane. In the row ahead of him, somebody completely unrelated to the event or One Champion, just some random passenger, gets COVID. And because Martin happens to be sitting behind him on the plane, he gets quarantined. He doesn't have COVID. He gets tested. He has nothing. But just out of an abundance of precaution, we don't want to put him in, right? So the Singapore government did the right thing, put him in quarantine, make sure he definitely doesn't have it. And it's proven he doesn't have it. So he is going to come back to Singapore and compete. Next couple of weeks.
So, yeah, that was what I wanted to ask. Is I saw he's back in Florida. He's training at Sanford. I didn't know whether he was going to make it in time for one on TNT4. Is that the plan? Is it still going to be the fight against Kim Jae-young?
So that fight is still on. Both sides want to fight each other. From my understanding, Kim Jae-young right now is in quarantine in Korea. So I'm just telling you this, man, Nick, this COVID, I'll give you an example. It knocked out 9 fights for us. 9 fights in the last few weeks, right? From Sage to just list went on and on. I don't even want to go into it. So we've had to adapt and we're making matches on the fly last minute, just to be able to keep a card together. And, we want to keep a reasonably strong card, right? For all the TNT series. So it's just been one thing after another, man. It's like, it's a comedy of errors and it's still COVID. Let's not forget, it's still COVID.
Yeah, I don't know. There was another fight that got affected as well. Sage Northcutt had to withdraw from the Shinya fight because of long-term COVID symptoms. Any update on him when he'll return? You still want to do that fight with Shinya? Because Shinya's now going to fight Edward Falayan, right?
Definitely. I believe in Sage. I really believe he has world championship potential. He has all the athleticism, the cardio. He has explosive. He has the technique. Anyone who's ever rolled with him will tell you he's just a monster in jiu-jitsu on the ground, and very explosive. And, he did have a rough start, One Champion getting knocked out by Cosmo Alexander. But, I think Sage is still very young. I hung out with him here in Singapore when he came for The Apprentice, for their shoot. And he's in pink of health. It's just unfortunate. Yeah, he has lingering issues from COVID. His kidneys weren't operating properly. and he just had some other COVID symptoms. But he had COVID a few months ago, but it's just taken time to clear his system. I think kind of like I forget what the UFC fighter who got COVID.
Oh, yeah, Khamzat Chimaev.
Yeah, right, exactly. So for some people, it hits you, and then you got lingering effects that last months, and so. But I'm very optimistic that Sage will be back definitely this year, and hopefully by the summer.
I mean, I did forget to just follow up as well there with Martin. So will it be a different opponent then if he's coming back?
No, we are trying to make it work for both sides.
Yeah.
They both want to fight each other. I just can't announce anything yet.
Okay. Well, I won't push you any further then on that one. Yeah, I just had one more, sorry, if that's okay. I appreciate the time, Chatri. Just Janet Todd, she had an incredible liver kick TKO against Anneline Hogstad on TNT2 in the co-main event. She's called for an interim Muay Thai title shot. Is that something you're considering with Alicia Rodriguez out pregnant? She's not going to be back for a while.
Yes, that is definitely something we are thinking about, an interim title shot with Stamp versus Janet Todd. It's definitely one of the options on the table. Another option that we're exploring is an atomweight Muay Thai Grand Prix, World Grand Prix. There's a lot of interesting things that we are toying with right now. I think the world also wants to see, from a kickboxing perspective, the featherweight World Grand Prix with the 8 best kickboxers in the world, Georgia Petrosian and all the monsters of that division. So there's a lot of things like that we're discussing, and that hopefully in the next few weeks we'll be able to resolve and announce. But yeah, I think it definitely makes sense for Janet Todd to fight for the interim world title against Stamp Fairtex while Alicia's out.
But I guess Stamp is slightly tied up now with the Atomweight MMA Grand Prix. So would that make sense maybe for Janet to defend her kickboxing title against Anika Mekson first, something like that?
Yeah, that's also another possibility. Again, like I said, a Muay Thai Atomweight World Grand Prix, right? With Janet Todd and the other, like, that division is also very stacked for Muay Thai. And I think that's something that people love to watch. I mean, the technique is beautiful. They're true warriors and very game, and it's something different. That's, I think, what the American fans like, is they've never seen Muay Thai in MMA gloves before, and to see truly the best strikers. When people say, it always kind of like annoys me when I hear other promotions in the West say, this person is the greatest striker on the planet. And, the reality is, if you live out here, you know that the best strikers in the world are either in Thailand or Holland. It is not some American growing up in kickboxing, because the talent level just isn't there, right? It is not a Muay Thai or MMA athlete out of Brazil. The level of Muay Thai and kickboxing is very low there. The best strikers in the world literally are in China, Thailand, Holland, and Japan. In terms of pure striking, right? So again, it's something beautiful for fans to watch. 4-ounce MMA gloves, but genuinely the highest striking level in the world. And that's something, it's a new product. We love it, and it resonates with fans. And, when you have a guy like Rotang with 200 professional fights, still only 23 years old, and you have Daniel Williams, that was an insane fight. It was a lot of fun, right? So there is something to be said. Like people love stand-up wars, and I think it's exciting when you have MMA gloves in Muay Thai, with Muay Thai.
Yeah, with Rotang there, was there a reason he went on last? Was it, do you think in hindsight maybe he should have gone on in the middle of the two fights?
Yeah, no. This is what I mean. We had some screw-ups internally that, I'll just leave it at that. And I think, we were trying to please too many people externally, that we kind of, again, we had some production issues, but going forward, it should always be like all our other events. The main is last, co-main, and then, et cetera, et cetera. That also affected our ratings, by the way. If Rotang had gone before DJ, for example, our ratings would have been a lot stronger. If Eddie hadn't gotten DQ'd a ratings, but there's so many things like that. But again, on any given day, ratings can swing from anywhere from poor to great. So I don't put that much stock in it on any given day. What I care about most is having the greatest roster in the world. What I care about is having, incredible production values that One Championship has, and being true to our fan base, with the ethos of martial arts. And we genuinely believe have a very, very different product than anything that exists out there in the marketplace globally. And we're very proud of our product.
Yeah, and like you said, though, I'd never seen so much buzz about One Championship especially on Twitter. Yep. Sometimes bad publicity could be the best publicity, even if there's some drama like with Eddie. So it created a lot of buzz, and just good to see people talking about it. I hope the momentum continues. And I thank you again, Chatri. Always enjoy our talks. Always really fun, man.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it. And yes, I broke the news on Eddie's opponent. One on TNT4. Thank you so much, Nick.
No, thank you for that. I want to go type that up now before anyone else gets wind of it. So cool.
Take care, buddy.